What if your own family betrayed you? Imagine pouring your heart and wallet into those you love, only to be cast aside at their grandest moment. Elaine's story of heartbreak and defiance will leave you questioning loyalty, and you won't want to miss her next move. I eased my silver Lexus through Creationsburg's bustling streets, the city's pulse thrumming like a heartbeat. Mondays always felt like a fresh canvas, brimming with possibility, unlike the dread most folks confess online. At 67, I still savored the promise of a new week. My atelier, Hampton Designs, sat proudly in the Imperial Business Center on Maple Avenue, its sleek glass facade catching the morning light. I parked in my named spot, checked my reflection, silver hair swept elegantly, makeup flawless, pearl earrings glinting, and stepped out, my ivory suit crisp against the autumn chill. No one could say Elaine Hampton looked unkempt, not even time itself. The doorbell chimed as I entered, and Olivia, my 23-year-old receptionist, snapped to attention. "Good morning, Mrs. Hampton," she said, deference in her voice like a well-rehearsed melody. "Morning, Olivia," I replied, smoothing my jacket. "What's on today, Mrs. Caulfield's fitting at 11:10, and at 2, you're meeting the Italian textile reps." Her eyes flicked to her notepad. "Coffee. Black. No sugar." I strode to my office, panoramic windows framing Creationsburg's skyline. The room was my sanctuary, minimalist furniture, perfect lighting for fabric work, walls adorned with framed designs, Chamber of Commerce awards, and my Parsons diploma, a relic of youth. Olivia delivered my coffee and a stack of bills. I was signing them when my phone buzzed. "Perry, my daughter." "Morning, darling," I said, warmth creeping into my voice. "Mom, you at the office?" Perry's tone carried her usual restless energy, a trait she'd inherited from me. "Of course. Why are you up so early?" "Client presentation." "Listen, can Ethan drop by after swimming? He could eat at your cafeteria, then head to his coding class. Saves a trip home." "No problem." I mentally shuffled my schedule. "I'll send Ronald to pick him up." "Mom, he can take the bus." "I insist. Ronald's dropping papers at the main office anyway." "Fine, you win." Park Street Pool, 5:30. I smiled, picturing Ethan's lanky frame and easy grin. My bond with Perry and her son felt effortless, grounded in mutual respect, not like with Quinn, my son. 15 years ago, Walter, my ex-husband, dropped the bombshell at dinner. "Elaine, I met someone," he'd said, eyes on his plate. "Rebecca, his assistant, 20 years younger." I slid off my ring, placed it beside his fork, and said, "Pack tomorrow." Perry, 19, raged at her father. Quinn, 22, seemed to blame me, as if my calm dignity was coldness. Years later, Quinn married Cassidy, a striking blonde with ambition that outstripped her talent. I funded their house deposit, their lavish wedding, a nanny for their twins, Olivia and Aiden. My generosity wasn't for Cassidy. It was for Quinn and my grandchildren, but their gratitude faded. Invitations to birthdays dwindled. School plays passed without mention. I buried the hurt in work, designing collections that kept Hampton Designs thriving. At 6, I headed to the cafeteria. Ethan sat by the window, headphones on, tablet glowing. "Hi, Grandma," he said, pulling off his headphones. His smile pure Perry. "How was practice?" "Darling, Coach says I might make the state team." His eyes sparkled as we chatted over lunch, his openness a balm. Unlike Quinn's twins, who barely acknowledged me lately, I sent Ethan off with Ronald, feeling a quiet joy in these small acts of care. That evening, my granddaughter Olivia called, her 8-year-old voice bubbling. "Grandma, did you know Mom and Dad's anniversary is Saturday? 10 years. Huge deal." "I know, sweetheart." I lied. No invitation had come. "I've got a present ready." "You didn't get invited." Her shock pierced me. "Mom said it's for close friends only." "Don't worry, I'll be there." I hung up, staring at the city lights. Close friends, but not me. The exclusion stung, a fresh cut atop years of slights, last-minute birthday invites, forgotten school events. Then I remembered 2 months ago, Quinn asked for £30,000 for a special night for Cassidy. I'd paid without question. Saturday dawned bright. I chose a navy Chanel dress, pearl-trimmed, and diamond earrings Walter gave me in happier times. At 67, my skin was firm, my figure's slender beauty earned through effort, not nostalgia. I selected gifts: a Swiss watch for Quinn, initials engraved, a Tiffany bracelet for Cassidy. Together, they cost £10,000. I never skimped on my children, even those who sidelined me, checking my banking app en route. I saw the £30,000 payment to Azure Coast. The lakeside restaurant had cleared. Quinn's voice echoed from our call. I want to make it unforgettable for Cassidy. I'd written the check, promised the balance. Now I was uninvited. At Azure Coast, the maitre d', Richard, greeted me. Good evening, Mrs. Hampton. I'm here for my son's anniversary, I said, clutching the gift box. Of course, he led me to the terrace, where white flowers, candles, and a string quartet set a lavish scene. 50 guests sipped champagne, 30 thousand well spent, I thought, noting the open bar and gourmet spread Cassidy's style, flashy and extravagant. Quinn stood at the bar, tall and confident in a gray suit. A successful realtor at 37. Pride flickered, then soured. Cassidy spotted me first, her red dress clinging, her smile vanishing. She marched over, arms crossed. Elaine, what are you doing here? I offered the gift. To wish you a happy anniversary. We didn't invite you, she said, voice low but sharp. This is our day. For close friends. I'm Quinn's mother. Do I need an invitation? My pulse quickened, but my tone stayed even. Yes, you do. Her eyes flicked to nearby guests who were now watching. You're always controlling, judging. We don't want you here. The words landed like a slap. Cassidy, please, I said, holding out the gift. Just take this for Quinn. Get out, she hissed, pointing to the exit. Quinn approached, his face tight. Mom, we weren't expecting you. I came to congratulate you, I said, forcing a smile. Thanks, but... He glanced at Cassidy. It's a small party, just close friends. I see, I replied, glancing at the 50 strangers, very private. Elaine, leave. Cassidy snapped. Quinn touched her shoulder, not to defend me, but to calm her, his eyes on the guest's stares. It's fine, I said, placing the gift on a table. Congratulations. I turned, my heels clicking, each step heavy with betrayal. Richard looked stunned as I passed, leaving already. Mrs. Hampton, seems I'm not on the list, I said, forcing a smile. Funny, since I paid for it? His eyes widened. You paid for the evening. Have a good night. Richard. In my car, my hands trembled not from fear, but from a cold, rising anger. Years of slights, forgotten birthdays, ignored plays, coalesced. I opened my banking app. £30,000. One tap could cancel it. I pictured Cassidy's panic. Quinn's shame. My finger hovered. So, before you get too cozy, take a moment to like this story and subscribe, but only if you're hooked on where this is going. The city lights of Creationsburg blurred past my window as I drove home, the weight of the evening pressing against my chest like a stone. My fingers gripped the steering wheel, knuckles pale, while my mind replayed Cassidy's venomous words. Get out. Quinn's silence, his failure to meet my eyes, cut deeper than her rudeness. I'd funded their lives' houses, schools, holidays, and yet I was the outsider at their gala, a stranger in my own son's world. The betrayal wasn't new, but tonight it felt raw, like a wound reopened. I let out a slow breath, my voice barely a whisper. How did it come to this? Elaine, back home, I kicked off my heels, the mansion's silence wrapping around me like a heavy shawl. The 3-story house, perched over the lake, felt too vast for one woman, but it was mine built with my sweat. My designs, my triumphs. I poured a glass of red wine, its ruby glow catching the lamplight, and sank into the leather chair in my study. The betrayal gnawed, but so did the memories of how we got here. I closed my eyes, letting the past creep in, soft and insidious, like a fog. 15 years ago, Walter's voice had cracked our family dinner. Elaine. I met someone, his assistant, Rebecca, young enough to be our daughter. I didn't scream or cry. I slid my ring across the table, cool as ice, and said, pack tomorrow. Perry, 19, had been furious, her eyes blazing as she swore never to forgive him. Quinn, 22, was different. He avoided my gaze, muttering about fairness, as if my refusal to beg the system part 2 continued. Fight for Walter was weakness. He married Cassidy 3 years later, a dazzling blonde with a smile that promised more than she delivered. I thought supporting them £50,000 for their house deposit, £20,000 for their wedding, a nanny for their twins. Olivia and Aiden would keep us close, but gratitude faded like ink in the rain. Invitations to their lives dwindled. I was an afterthought at best, forgotten at worst. Birthdays passed with last-minute texts, school plays without a seat saved for me. Each slight was a pinprick, but I buried the pain in work, sketching designs late into the night, building Hampton Designs into a name that echoed across Creationsburg. I sipped my wine, the tartness sharp on my tongue, and opened my laptop. My banking app glowed on the screen, a stark reminder 30,000 paid to Azure Coast for Quinn's anniversary party. A party I wasn't invited to. My finger hovered over the cancel button, a pulse of defiance thrumming through me. I'd given so much $10,000 a month for the twins' private school, $5,000 for their mortgage, $3,000 for their country club, hundreds of thousands over the years, all to keep a thread of connection to my son. But tonight, that thread snapped. I thought back to Quinn's childhood, his laughter filling our old house, his small hand in mine as we walked through Creationsburg's park. He'd been my dreamer, sketching fantastical cities while Perry pored over numbers. After the divorce, Perry leaned into me, her practicality a mirror of my own. Quinn drifted, his calls growing sparse unless he needed something alone, a favor, a check. I gave always, thinking it was love. Now, staring at the city lights, I wondered if I'd been buying their affection, not earning it. The phone buzzed. Quinn's name flashed. I let it ring, my heart a tangled knot of hurt and resolve. Not tonight, I murmured, silencing it. The wine glass felt heavy in my hand, the quiet of the house pressing in. I remembered the day Quinn announced his engagement, his eyes bright with hope. I'd written a check for their wedding, smiling through my doubts about Cassidy's sharp edges. I wanted him happy, but happiness shouldn't mean erasure. I scrolled through old photos on my phone, Quinn's graduation, the twins' first birthday, Perry and Ethan at the lake last summer. The contrast was stark. Perry's calls were warm, frequent. Quinn's were transactions. My thumb lingered on a picture of Cassidy, radiant at her wedding, my money sparkling in every detail. Tonight, she pointed me to the exit like I was staff, not family. And Quinn, he'd stood by, his silence louder than her words. I set the glass down, my reflection staring back from the dark window. At 67, I looked good, silver hair sleek, skin still taut from discipline. Not luck, but inside, I felt the ache of years spent giving too much. The banking app glowed, tempting. Canceling the payment it would be petty. Yes, but also poetic. I imagined Cassidy's face when the card declined, Quinn's polished facade cracking. My finger twitched, hovering over the button. You don't get to erase me, I whispered, the words soft but steel-edged. I'd built an empire with my hands. Hampton Designs was proof I didn't bend. Why should I now? The hurt wasn't just tonight's snub. It was a decade of being sidelined, my generosity taken for granted. I thought of Perry's words last week. You deserve better. Mom, she was right. I pressed the button. Payment canceled. 30 is in return to my account. A small, cold smile curved my lips. The Azure Coast lights would dim tonight, and I felt a flicker of liberation. Not revenge. Not yet just a reminder that I wasn't invisible. I leaned back, the leather creaking, and took another sip of wine. The city sparkled below, indifferent but beautiful. Tomorrow, I'd face the fallout. Quinn would call, furious or pleading. Cassidy would play her games. But tonight, I'd done something for me. The first stroke on a new canvas. And let me tell you, it felt like breathing again. The morning after the Azure Coast debacle, I woke to the soft hum of Creationsburg beyond my bedroom window. Sunlight spilled across the lake, glinting like scattered coins, but my mind was elsewhere, still tangled in last night's betrayal. My hands, steady as ever, poured coffee, black and bitter, into a porcelain cup. The mansion's silence felt heavier today, not comforting but oppressive, like a guest overstaying their welcome. I sipped slowly, the warmth grounding me, and let the sting of Cassidy's words get out replay. Quinn's silence hurt more, a blade lodged deep. I paid for their night, their life, and they'd cast me out. But something new stirred in me, a spark of defiance, sharp and bright. I padded to my study, the hardwood cool under my bare feet, and opened my laptop. The banking app confirmed at £30 wasn't back in my account. No regret lingered, only a strange calm, like the quiet before a storm. I'd crossed a line, not out of spite, but necessity. For years, I'd been their safety net, £10,000 a month for the twins' school, $5,000 for their mortgage, countless smaller sums for Cassidy's whims. Each check was a plea for closeness, but it bought only distance. Last night, I'd stopped pleading. I leaned back in my leather chair, the city's skyline sprawling beyond the glass. My office at home mirrored the one at Hampton Design's clean lines, curated awards, a Parsons diploma yellowing at the edges. Work had always been my refuge. After Walter left, I'd poured my pain into designs, sketching late into the night, turning heartbreak into collections that won awards. But family? That was messier. A fabric I couldn't cut to fit. My phone buzzed. Quinn again. I ignored it, my pulse quickening. He'd be furious about the canceled payment. But I wasn't ready to face his accusations. Not yet. Instead, I thought of Perry, her steady voice, her son Ethan's easy grin. They didn't take me for granted. Why couldn't Quinn be like that? I closed my eyes. A memory surfacing Quinn at 10, drawing fantastical buildings, promising to build me a castle one day. Now, at 37, he built nothing but excuses. I stood, pacing to the window. The lake shimmered, indifferent to my turmoil. I'd given Quinn everything: money, time, love. Yet he stood by while Cassidy humiliated me. The hurt wasn't just personal. It was a betrayal of every sacrifice. The down payment on their house, £50, and when they were newlyweds, the twins' nanny, $2,000 a month, so Cassidy could find herself. The car I bought her last Christmas, $25,000, because Quinn said she deserved it. I'd never tallied it before. But now the numbers burned in my mind, hundreds of thousands. And for what? To be pointed to the exit. I sat back down, my fingers drumming the desk. The spark of defiance grew, warming my chest. I wasn't just a checkbook. I was Elaine Hampton, who'd built Hampton Designs from a single sewing machine into 5 ateliers. I'd faced suppliers who doubted me, competitors who sneered, and still came out on top. If I could do that, I could reclaim my place in my family or walk away from those who didn't value it. I opened my banking app again, scrolling through transactions. The twins' school fees, the mortgage, the country club membership, each a tether I'd tied myself. I hovered over the settings for automatic payments. One click could stop them all. My heart raced, not with fear, but with possibility. I'd been passive too long, letting Quinn and Cassidy dictate the terms of our bond. No more. Elaine, I whispered to myself, my voice soft but firm. You're done being invisible. I clicked, canceling the school fees first. $10,000 a month. Gone. The mortgage, $5,000, paused. The club, $3,000, severed. Each click was a thread snapping, freeing me from a web I'd woven myself. I exhaled, the weight lifting, though a pang of guilt flickered. Olivia and Aiden, my grandchildren, weren't to blame, but their parents had to learn love wasn't a transaction. My phone buzzed again, a text from Perry Mom. Quinn called. He's livid about the restaurant. What happened? I typed back. We'll talk tomorrow, 2 p.m., my place. I needed her perspective, her clarity. Perry never asked for handouts. She'd built her own life, a financial analyst with a sharp mind and a warm heart. Her husband, Brian, and son, Ethan, were my anchors. Unlike Quinn, they saw me, not my bank account. I walked to the mirror, studying my reflection. Silver hair, sharp cheekbones, eyes that held decades of triumphs and tears. At 67, I was still formidable, not fragile. I thought of last night's Chanel dress, the way it hugged my frame, a reminder that beauty wasn't youth, it was intention. I'd spent years crafting my image, my business, my life. Now, I'd craft my boundaries. The phone rang again. Quinn, relentless. I pictured him at Azure Coast, scrambling as the manager demanded payment. Cassidy's face flushed with panic. A small, wicked part of me savored it. Let them squirm, I murmured, the words tasting like rebellion. I didn't answer. Instead, I opened my day planner, jotting notes, cancel payments, meet lawyer, review Quinn's share in the ateliers he was a nominal co-owner, a gesture I'd made years ago. That would change. Everything would. I stepped onto the terrace, coffee in hand, the lake breeze cool against my skin. The city hummed below, alive and indifferent. For the first time in years, I felt aligned with it, not pulled by others' needs, but free to choose my own path. The spark of defiance was now aflame, steady and sure. I wasn't sure what came next, but I knew one thing: Elaine Hampton wasn't done yet. And let me tell you, that thought felt like a sunrise after a long, dark night. The air in my study felt charged, like the moment before a storm breaks. I sat at my desk, the lake beyond the window shimmering under Creationsburg's morning sun, but my focus was on the laptop screen. Last night's decision to cancel the $30,000 in payment for Quinn's anniversary party still hummed in my veins, a quiet thrill of reclaiming control. Now, with the twins' school fees, mortgage, and country club membership payments paused, I felt lighter, unburdened, but the work wasn't done. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, ready to sever more ties. This wasn't just about money, it was about respect, and I was done begging for it. I sipped my coffee, its bitterness grounding me, and opened my financial records. The numbers stared back: $150,000 for Quinn's house deposit over a decade ago, $120,000 annually for the twins' school, £60,000 for their mortgage each year. Smaller sums littered the ledger: $5,000 for Cassidy's spa retreats, $10,000 for their Caribbean holiday. I'd never flinched at the cost, thinking it tethered me to my son. But last night at Azure Coast, Cassidy's finger pointing to the exit and Quinn's silence proved otherwise. I wasn't family to them, I was a resource. Enough, I whispered, my voice soft but edged with steel. I clicked through the banking app, confirming the cancellations. The twins' trust funds, set up for their education, were next. Quinn was the trustee, but I'd ensure he couldn't touch them. I emailed my lawyer, scheduling a meeting to lock the funds until Olivia and Aiden turned 21, not 18. My grandchildren deserve security, not their parents' recklessness. My phone buzzed Quinn again. I ignored it, picturing his panic as the restaurant's bill loomed. Instead, I called Perry. Darling, can you still make 2 o'clock today? Wouldn't miss it. Mom, Perry said, her voice warm but curious. Quinn's blowing up my phone about the party. What's going on? We'll talk soon. I hung up, my heart steady but heavy. Perry would understand, she always did. Unlike Quinn, who drifted into Cassidy's orbit, Perry valued me for me, not my checkbook. I stood, pacing to the window. The lake's surface rippled, catching the light like scattered diamonds. I thought of my ateliers, the empire I'd built from late-night sketches and sheer will. Hampton Designs wasn't just a business. It was my proof that I could shape my world. Now, I'd shape my family's too, or at least my place in it. I returned to my desk, pulling up the ownership documents for the ateliers. Quinn held a 10% share, a symbolic gesture from years ago when I thought he'd join the business. He never did, yet the share remained. That would change. I drafted a note to my lawyer, begin buyout process for Quinn's stake. The doorbell chimed, startling me. I checked the intercom. Quinn, unshaven, in a crumpled jacket, his face taut with anger. My stomach tightened, but I buzzed him in. No running from this. He stormed into the study, not bothering to knock. Mom, what the hell? You canceled the payment for the party. I leaned back, folding my hands. Good morning. Quinn, coffee. Don't play games, he snapped, looming over my desk. The restaurant called. We're humiliated. 50 guests saw the card decline. Cassidy's a wreck. I met his eyes, calm but unflinching, humiliated. Imagine how I felt, being told to leave a party I paid for. That was Cassidy's stress talking. His voice cracked, desperate. She didn't mean it. She meant every word, I said, my tone even. And you stood there, saying nothing. That's what hurt. Quinn, not her rudeness, your silence. He flinched, running a hand through his hair. I didn't know what to do. It was our night, your night, funded by me. I stood, my height matching his, my navy blouse sharp against the morning light. $30,000 for a party I wasn't invited to. $150,000 for your house. $10,000 a month for your children's school. Shall I go on? He paled, stepping back. You've always helped us. It's what you do. No, I said, my voice low, cutting. It's what I did. I'm done being your bank. Quinn, you and Cassidy need to stand on your own. You can't do this. His fists clenched. The twins' school, the house will lose everything. Then prioritize, I said, unyielding. Sell the second car. Drop the country club. You're a realtor. Cassidy's educated. Figure it out. He stared, mouth working soundlessly. You're punishing us for one mistake. This isn't about one night, I said, my chest tight with years of buried hurt. It's every birthday I wasn't invited to, every school play I learned about after. You took my money and pushed me out. That ends now. Quinn's eyes darted, searching for leverage. Dad thinks you're being unfair. I laughed, sharp and cold. Walter, who left us for his secretary and never paid a penny since. Let him talk. My lawyers will handle him. He slumped into a chair, defeated but defiant. You're tearing our family apart. No, Quinn, I'm saving myself. I sat, my voice softening but firm. I love you, but love doesn't mean funding your life while you disrespect me. He left without another word. The the door clicking shut like a full stop. I exhaled, the silence settling again. My phone pinged Perry, confirming our meeting. I needed her clarity, her support. But first, I opened my day planner, adding tasks, meet lawyer, restructure trust funds, explore new designs. Work had always been my anchor. And now, a new idea sparked a clothing line for women like me, elegant but bold, defying age. I sketched a transformable dress, one piece shifting into 3 styles, practical yet daring. Like me, it would adapt without breaking. By 2, Perry arrived, her dark hair pulled back, her eyes sharp with concern. "Mom, Quinn's a mess. What happened?" I poured us tea, the porcelain clinking softly. He and Cassidy threw me out of their party, the one I paid for, so I canceled the payment. Her eyes widened. "God, Mom, that's bold." "It's necessary," I said, stirring my tea, the spoons clink steadying me. "I've stopped all their payments, school, mortgage, everything. I'm done being used." Perry nodded slowly. "They've taken you for granted forever. But are you ready for the fallout?" "I have to be," I said, my voice low, almost a whisper. "I'm not just their mother. I'm Elaine Hampton, and I deserve respect." She squeezed my hand. "You do. I'm with you." "Mom." Her words warmed me, a reminder of what family could be. As she left, I felt the spark grow a fire, not of anger, but of purpose. I wasn't just cutting ties, I was building new ones. With myself, with Perry, with my work. And let me tell you, that fire felt like coming alive. The late afternoon sun slanted through my office windows, painting Creationsburg's skyline in hues of gold and amber. I sat at my desk in the Imperial Business Center, sketches for my new transformable clothing line scattered before me. But my mind was elsewhere. The cancellations, 30,000 for the Azure Coast party, 10 times as in monthly for the twin school. Filing for Quinn's mortgage hung in the air like a storm that hadn't yet broken. My phone buzzed relentlessly, Quinn's name flashing. Then Cassidy's, then Quinn again. I let it hum, a faint vibration against the polished wood, my heart a mix of resolve and ache. I'd drawn a line, but the fallout was coming, and it was going to be messy. I sipped my coffee, now cold, its bitterness mirroring the taste of last night's decision. The memory of Quinn's visit this morning lingered, his anger, his accusations, his refusal to see my side. "You're tearing our family apart," he'd said, as if I were the one who'd pointed to the exit. But it was Cassidy's voice that echoed loudest. "Get out." I'd spent years funding their lives, thinking it was love. Now, I saw it for what it was, a one-sided transaction. I straightened, pushing the sketches aside. No more. The door swung open. Olivia, my receptionist, hesitating. "Mrs. Hampton, your son's here, and his wife. They're insisting." My stomach tightened, but I nodded. "Show them in." I stood, smoothing my navy blazer, my silver hair catching the light. At 67, I knew how to command a room, and I wasn't about to shrink now. Quinn entered first, his jaw tight, followed by Cassidy, her red lipstick stark against a strained smile. She wore a designer dress, probably one I'd indirectly paid for her posture. All calculated charm. "Elaine," she began, her voice syrupy. "We need to talk about yesterday. A terrible misunderstanding." I raised an eyebrow, sitting calmly. "Misunderstanding. You told me to leave a party I funded." Quinn stood by. That felt clear. Cassidy flinched, her smile faltering. "I was stressed. Elaine, the planning, the guests, it got to me. I didn't mean to hurt you. Didn't you?" I tilted my head, my voice soft but sharp, like a needle through silk. "You pointed me to the door in front of 50 people. That wasn't stress. That was deliberate." Quinn shifted, his eyes darting. "Mom, it wasn't like that. We just wanted a small, private night. With my 30 pounds, I said, leaning forward. "And the 150,000 for your house. The 120,000 a year for the twin school. The 25,000 for Cassidy's car last Christmas. Shall I continue?" Cassidy's face reddened. "We've always appreciated your help. Elaine, have you?" I folded my hands, my tone cool, because I don't recall an invitation to Olivia's last birthday or Aiden's school play. "I'm good enough to pay, but not to share your lives." Quinn rubbed his neck, his voice low. "We didn't mean to exclude you. It's just life gets busy." "Busy," I repeated, a dry laugh escaping. "Busy taking my money while forgetting my place in your family. That ends now. The payments are done, school, mortgage, club, all of it." Cassidy's eyes widened, her charm cracking. "You can't do that." The twins' school, they'll be expelled. Then enroll them somewhere you can afford, I said, unyielding. You both have incomes. Prioritize. Quinn stepped forward, his voice rising. This is about the party, isn't it? You're punishing us for one night. No, Quinn, I said, my chest tight with years of buried hurt. This is about a decade of being sidelined. I'm your mother, not your bank. I deserve respect. Cassidy's eyes narrowed, her voice dropping to a hiss. You're selfish. Elaine, always controlling, always judging. We don't need your money. Good, I said, standing, my height matching hers. Then you won't mind living without it. Quinn put a hand on her arm, his face pale. Cass, stop. Mom, please, we can't lose the house. The kids, you should have thought of that before you let your wife humiliate me. I cut in, my voice steady but laced with pain. I've given you everything: money, time, love, and you gave me silence. Cassidy crossed her arms. You think you're so perfect, don't you? Throwing your money around, expecting us to bow. I expected family, I said, my voice breaking slightly. Not gratitude, not worship, just a seat at the table. Quinn looked away, his jaw working. What do you want from us? Nothing, I said, the word heavy but true. I'm done begging for your attention. You're adults. Act like it. They left, Cassidy's heels clicking angrily, Quinn trailing like a shadow. The door shut, and I sank into my chair, my hands trembling not from fear, but from the weight of standing my ground. I'd spent years softening their edges, cushioning their mistakes. Now I'd let them fall. I turned to my sketches, the transformable dress staring back, a single piece that could shift into a blouse, a skirt, a gown. Like me, it was adaptable, resilient. I picked up a pencil, refining the lines, the act grounding me. Work had always been my salvation, a place to channel pain into creation. But this time, it wasn't escape, it was reinvention. My phone pinged. A text from Perry. Mom. Heard from Quinn. He's freaking out. You okay? I smiled faintly, typing back, I'm fine. See you at 2 tomorrow. Perry was my anchor. Her family a reminder that love didn't have to hurt. I thought of Ethan's grin, his chatter over lunch, then of Olivia and Aiden, caught in their parents' mess. I'd protect their trust funds. But Quinn and Cassidy, they were on their own. I stepped to the window, Creationsburg's lights twinkling below. The city didn't care about my fight, but it felt alive, pulsing with possibility. I'd built Hampton Designs from nothing. I could rebuild my life too. The cancellations were just the start. I'd buy out Quinn's share in the ateliers, block the twins' funds, and launch my new line clothing for women like me, bold and unapologetic. As I returned to my desk, a new sketch took shape, a jacket that could become a vest, a bag, a statement. Like me, it would defy expectations. And let me tell you, that defiance felt like slipping into a perfectly tailored dress, empowering, electric, and entirely my own. The morning light filtered through my study's curtains, soft and pale, like a whisper of calm before the chaos I knew was coming. I sat at my desk, the lake beyond the window still as glass, reflecting Creationsburg's skyline. My coffee steamed, its aroma sharp, but my mind was sharper, replaying yesterday's confrontation with Quinn and Cassidy, their anger, their entitlement. Cassidy's hissed selfish, and Quinn's desperate pleas had only steeled my resolve. I'd canceled their payments, drawn my line in the sand. But I wasn't naive. They wouldn't let go easily, and I braced for their next move. My fingers traced the edge of a sketch for my transformable clothing line, a reminder that I was building something new, something mine. My phone buzzed. Not Quinn this time, but a voicemail from Olivia, my 8-year-old granddaughter. Her voice, small and hesitant, pierced me. Grandma, it's me. Mom's been crying a lot, and Dad's mad. They say it's because of you. Can I see you soon? I miss you. My heart clenched, a dull ache spreading. The twins weren't to blame for their parents' mess, but Cassidy was clever. She'd use them to pull me back. I saved the message, my throat tight. I'd call Olivia later. Keep her close, but I wouldn't bend to manipulation. I stood, pacing to the window, the cool floor grounding me. Yesterday, I'd told Quinn and Cassidy to stand on their own. £30 doesn't for their party, £10 out in a month for school, $5,000 for their mortgage gone. I'd spent years cushioning their lives, thinking it kept us family. Now, I saw the truth. I'd been buying a place they never reserved for me. The hurt was raw, but so was my clarity. I wasn't just Elaine, the generous mother. I was Elaine Hampton, who'd built Hampton designs from grit and vision. If I could face down doubting suppliers and cutthroat competitors, I could face my son's tantrums. The doorbell chimed, sharp and insistent. I checked the intercom. Cassidy, alone, her face tight, lips pursed. No Quinn to soften her edges. I buzzed her in, steadying myself. She swept into my study, her designer coat, another gift from my wallet, flaring dramatically. "Elaine," she started, her voice low, almost pleading. "We need to fix this. For the kids." I gestured to a chair, my expression calm. "Sit." "Cassidy." "Coffee." She ignored the offer, standing rigid. "You've gone too far. The school called Olivia and Aiden might be expelled. The mortgage is due. You're hurting your grandchildren." I leaned back, folding my hands. "I'm hurting them. Or are you, by relying on me to fund your lifestyle while shutting me out?" Her eyes flashed, but her tone softened, calculated. "I'm sorry about the party. I was overwhelmed. But this cutting everything off, it's cruel. The kids need their school. Then pay for it," I said, my voice soft but unyielding, like velvet over steel. "You and Quinn earn enough. Sell the sports car. Skip the Maldives this year. Prioritize." Cassidy's mask slipped, her voice sharp. "You think it's that easy? We've built a life. Elaine, you can't just pull the rug out." "I didn't," I said, standing to meet her gaze. "You did, when you pointed me to the door in front of 50 strangers. When you took my money but forgot my place in your family." She stepped closer, her perfume sharp, invasive. "Olivia misses you. Aiden too. They're asking why Grandma's mad. You want to break their hearts." My chest tightened, but I held firm. "Don't use my grandchildren to guilt me." "Cassidy, I'll see them anytime they're welcome here. But you and Quinn, you're adults. Act like it." She laughed, bitter and cold. "You're so high and mighty. Elaine, always the perfect mother, throwing money at us like it makes you a saint." "I never wanted sainthood," I said, my voice low, trembling with years of buried pain. "I wanted family, a call on my birthday, an invite to Aiden's football match. Instead, I got your disdain and Quinn's silence." Cassidy's eyes darted, searching for leverage. "If you don't reinstate the payments, we'll lose the house. You'll ruin the twins' future." "Then don't," I said, my tone final. "Get a job. Cassidy, you were an insurance agent once. Use your degree. Or let Quinn sell one of his investment properties. You have options, you just don't like them." She stared, her face a mix of shock and fury. "You're heartless." "No," I said, stepping closer, my voice barely above a whisper. "I'm heartbroken. There's a difference." She turned, her coat swishing, and stormed out. The door slammed, echoing through the house. I sank into my chair, my hands shaking, not from fear, but from the effort of holding my ground. Cassidy's words stung, but they didn't sway me. I'd spent too long softening their falls. Now, they'd learn to stand or stumble without me. I turned to my sketches, the transformable dress a lifeline. Its hidden clasps and shifting forms mirrored my own shift from doormat to defiant. I added a new idea, a coat that could become a shawl or a bag, versatile and bold, like the woman I was becoming. Work grounded me. Always had, after Walter's betrayal. I designed my way through the pain, turning tears into award-winning collections. Now, I designed my way to freedom. My phone pinged. "Perry, Mom." Cassidy called me, crying about the school. "You okay?" I typed back, "I'm fine. See you at 2. Perry's support was a balm, a reminder of what family could be. I thought of Olivia's voicemail, her small voice caught in her parents' storm. I'd call her later, invite her over. Keep her close without funding her parents' excess. The lake outside gleamed, serene and untroubled. I envied its calm, but felt my own strength rising, a tide I couldn't stop. I opened my planner, adding call lawyer secure trust funds, draft buyout offer for Quinn's share. The ateliers were mine, not his. He'd never lifted a finger for them, yet claimed a stake. That ended now. As I sketched, my phone buzzed again. Quinn, then Cassidy, then an unknown number. Their desperation was palpable, but I let it ring. I wasn't their savior anymore. I was Elaine Hampton, and I was rewriting my story. And let me tell you, that rewrite felt like shedding a heavy coat, leaving me lighter, ready to soar. The Creationsburg dawn crept through my study's blinds, casting slatted shadows across my desk. I hadn't slept well. Olivia's voicemail replaying in my mind, her small, hesitant voice, caught in the crossfire of her parents' chaos. My coffee sat untouched, its steam curling like a ghost. The fight with Cassidy yesterday had left me raw, her accusations heartless, stinging more than I cared to admit. But her attempt to use the twins as leverage only hardened my resolve. I'd stop their payments, £30,000 for the party, £10,000 for school, $5,000 for the mortgage, not to punish, but to reclaim my dignity. Now, I sat with my laptop open, the banking app, a stark reminder of my new boundaries. But a new shock was coming, one that would cut deeper than Cassidy's words. I sipped the cold coffee, grimacing, and checked my emails. A message from my banker, marked urgent, stopped me cold. Mrs. Hampton, please confirm. Are you aware your son withdrew 90% of the twins' trust fund? My heart thudded, a dull, heavy beat. The trust, $200,000 set aside for Olivia and Aiden's education, was sacred. Quinn was the trustee, but the funds were locked for their future university, not his whims. I called the banker immediately, my voice steady despite the rage bubbling inside. Mr. Thompson, explain this, I said, gripping the phone. He cleared his throat. Quinn withdrew $180,000 2 days ago. The account's nearly empty. He had trustee access, so it was legal. But I thought you should know. I closed my eyes, the betrayal sinking in like ice. Thank you. I'll handle it. I hung up, my hands trembling not from fear, but from a fury so cold it felt like frost. Quinn hadn't used the $100,000 check I'd given him as a final gesture to secure his children's school fees. Instead, he'd raided their future. For what? Another holiday. A new car. I opened my phone, dreading what I'd find. Social media answered a photo of Cassidy by a sparkling pool, captioned, "Spontaneous getaway. We deserve it." Quinn lounged in the background, cocktail in hand. My stomach churned. They'd taken their children's security for a fleeting escape. I stood, pacing to the window, the lake outside mocking me with its calm. Creationsburg's skyline glittered, indifferent to my family's fractures. I'd built Hampton Designs from nothing, faced down skeptics, and won. But this was personal, a betrayal that clawed at my core. Quinn wasn't just ungrateful. He was reckless, prioritizing Flash over his own children. I thought of Olivia's voice, her plea to see me. She deserved better. They both did. Elaine, I whispered, my breath fogging the glass. You can't let this slide. I returned to my desk, opening my planner. Call lawyer lock trust funds now. I'd recreate the accounts, but this time I'd be the sole trustee, with an independent overseer. No more access for Quinn. I emailed my lawyer, detailing the withdrawal and my plan to protect what was left. The twins would have their future, even if their parents squandered theirs. My phone buzzed Quinn again. I let it ring, picturing him poolside, oblivious to the storm he'd unleashed. I'd given him that $100,000 as a test, a chance to prove he could prioritize his children. He'd failed spectacularly. I opened my banking app, confirming the canceled payments, school fees, mortgage, club all gone. Now, the trust fund betrayal added fuel to my fire. I wasn't just cutting financial ties. I was severing Quinn's ability to exploit my love. The doorbell chimed. I checked the intercom. Perry. Early, her face etched with worry. I buzzed her in, grateful for her steady presence. She entered, dropping her bag, her eyes searching mine. Mom, Quinn called me. He's in the Maldives with Cassidy. Did you know? I nodded, my voice low, almost a growl. I just found out. He drained the twins' trust fund, $180,000. Perry, for a holiday. Her jaw dropped. God, Mom, that's disgusting. Olivia and Aiden are my priority. I cut in, my hands clenching. I'm locking the funds. Quinn gets nothing more. I gave him $100,000 as a test. He blew it. Perry sank into a chair, shaking her head. I knew he was selfish, but it's beyond. I know, I said, sitting across from her, my voice softening, but it's clarity. He's shown who he is. Now I protect the twins and myself. She reached for my hand, her grip warm. You're doing the right thing, but are you okay? This can't be easy. I smiled faintly, the ache in my chest undeniable. It's not. Every time I think of Olivia's voice, I want to fix it all, but I can't keep enabling them. I'm done being their safety net. Perry nodded, her eyes fierce. You're not just their mother. Mom, you're Elaine Hampton. They forgot that. Her words lit something in me, a spark of pride amidst the pain. I stood, pulling her into a hug. Thank you, darling. I needed that. As she left, I returned to my sketches, the transformable jacket vest, bag, Tent felt more urgent now, a symbol of my own reinvention. I added details, reinforced seams, hidden pockets, fabrics that could withstand a storm. Like me, I'd faced worse than Quinn's betrayal, Walter's affair, the divorce, building a business alone. I'd survived this too. My phone pinged a text from Olivia Grandma. "Can I come over after school?" It's loud at home. My heart twisted. But I typed back, of course. "Sweetheart, I'll pick you up." I keep her close, shield her from her parents' chaos. But Quinn and Cassidy, they'd face the consequences of their choices. I stepped onto my terrace. The lake breeze cool against my skin. Creationsburg pulsed below, alive with possibility. I was rewriting my story, not just for me, but for Olivia and Aiden. The trust fund betrayal was a blow, but it clarified my path. I'd protect their future, rebuild my own, and let Quinn and Cassidy scramble. And let me tell you, that clarity felt like standing taller. My shoulders squared against the wind. The Creationsburg skyline shimmered beyond my office window, its lights flickering like a pulse against the evening dusk. I sat at my desk in the Imperial Business Center, the faint hum of the city seeping through the glass. My hands rested on a stack of sketches for my transformable clothing line. But my mind was elsewhere, reeling from yesterday's discovery that Quinn had drained $180,000 from the twins' trust fund. The betrayal burned, a cold fire in my chest, sharper than Cassidy's words at the Azure Coast or Quinn's silence. I'd stopped their payments, $30,000 for the party, $10,000 for school, $5,000 for the mortgage, but this was different. This was theft from his own children. Today, I'd face them head on. My phone buzzed. A text from my lawyer, trust funds secured. Quinn's access revoked. Buyout draft ready. I exhaled, a small relief amid the storm. I'd insured Olivia and Aiden's future, but confronting Quinn and Cassidy about their betrayal was next. They'd called relentlessly since their Maldives trip, likely sensing the walls closing in. I wasn't hiding anymore. I'd invited them to my office, neutral ground, to lay bare the truth. My navy blazer felt like armor. My silver hair swept back. A reminder that at 67, I was Elaine Hampton formidable, not fragile. The door swung open without a knock. Quinn stormed in, his face flushed. Tie askew, Cassidy followed, her eyes sharp, her designer heels, another gift from my past generosity, clicking sharply. "Elaine," she started, her voice a forced calm. "We need to clear this up. The trust fund, the payments, it's gone too far." I leaned back, folding my hands. "Sit, both of you. We're past pleasantries." Quinn hesitated, then slumped into a chair, his jaw tight. Cassidy remained standing, arms crossed. "You locked us out of the twins' fund," she said, her tone accusing. "That's their future you're playing with." I raised an eyebrow, my voice low. "Cutting their future? You mean the $180,000 you took for a Maldives holiday? That future?" Quinn's face drained of color. "How did you—" "My banker," I said, standing to meet Cassidy's gaze. "You raided your children's education fund, Quinn, while you sipped cocktails. I was protecting Olivia and Aiden's future. The trust is locked now, no access for you." Cassidy's eyes narrowed, her voice venomous. "You're twisting this. We needed a break. The stress you caused it. Cutting us off." I laughed, sharp and cold, the sound echoing in the quiet office. "Stress I caused. I paid for your house, your kids' school, your holidays. $300,000 over 10 years. Cassidy, and you repaid me by throwing me out of a party I funded. You don't get to play victim." Quinn shifted, his voice low, pleading. "Mom, we were desperate. The restaurant bill, the school they're piling up. I thought the trust fund could what?" I cut in, my chest tight with fury and hurt. "Buy you another getaway. You didn't use the $100,000 I gave you for the school. You chose a resort over your kids." Cassidy stepped forward, her face inches from mine. "You're so smug, Elaine, always waving your money, expecting us to grovel. We don't need you. Then why are you here?" I said, my voice steady but laced with pain. "Why call me 10 times a day? Why send Olivia to guilt me with her sweet voice? You need me, Cassidy, but only for my checkbook. That's over." Quinn stood, his hands raised, trying to mediate. "Mom, please, we're sorry about the party. Let's fix this. Reinstate the payments, and we'll make it right." I looked at him, my son, his eyes so like Walter's, but lacking the courage I'd hoped he'd inherit. "Make it right," I said softly, the words heavy with years of slights. "You stood by while your wife humiliated me. Every birthday I wasn't invited to, every school event I missed, those weren't accidents. You chose to push me out." Cassidy scoffed, her voice dripping with disdain. You're dramatic. It's not about you. It's our life, our choices, your life, my money, I said, stepping closer, my voice a whisper now, sharp as a blade. I paid 30,000 for your anniversary, 150,000 for your house, 120 in a year for school, and you couldn't even invite me to Olivia's play. That's not family, Cassidy. That's exploitation. Quinn's face crumpled. A flicker of guilt breaking through. I didn't mean to hurt you, Mom. I didn't know how to handle it. You could have spoken up, I said, my voice breaking despite my resolve. You're my son. Quinn, I gave you everything, and you let her point me to the door. Silence hung, heavy and suffocating. Cassidy's eyes darted, her bravado faltering. We'll pay you back, she said, her tone shifting to desperation. Just give us time. No, I said, final, unyielding. I'm done. The trust funds are safe for the twins. I'm buying out your share in the ateliers. Quinn, you'll get a fair price, but you're out. This is my life's work, not your fallback. Quinn's jaw dropped. You're cutting me out completely. I'm setting boundaries, I said, my heart aching but my voice firm. You're adults. Live like it. Cassidy grabbed Quinn's arm, her voice a hiss. Let's go. She's made her choice. They left, the door slamming, the sound ringing in my ears. I sank into my chair, my hands trembling, not from fear, but from the weight of truth spoken aloud. I'd faced them, laid bare their ingratitude, and it felt like shedding a skin I'd outgrown. But the pain lingered. Quinn's guilt, his failure to choose me. I thought of Olivia and Aiden. Innocent in this mess? I'd protect them. But their parents had to face reality. I turned to my sketches. The transformable jacket a beacon, its shifting forms vest, bag, tent mirrored my own transformation. I added a hidden clasp, my pencil steady despite the ache in my chest. Work was my refuge. Always had been. After Walter's betrayal, I designed through the tears. Now, I design through this, building a line for women like me, resilient, bold, unapologetic. My phone pinged Perry, Mom. You okay after Quinn? Need me to come over? I smiled, typing I'm fine. See you tomorrow. Perry's support was my anchor, a reminder that family could be love, not obligation. I stepped to the window, Creationsburg's lights pulsing below. I'd confronted my betrayers, and it felt like stepping into a new skin, one that fit perfectly. And let me tell you, that fit was empowering, like a dress tailored just for me. The Creationsburg evening wrapped my study in a quiet hush, the lake outside reflecting the city's lights like scattered stars. I sat at my desk, the air heavy with the aftermath of yesterday's showdown with Quinn and Cassidy. My hands rested on my sketches, the transformable jacket's lines a lifeline. But my mind churned with their reactions. Cassidy's venom, Quinn's flicker of guilt. I'd laid bare their ingratitude, severed their financial lifeline, and locked the twins' trust fund. The 180,000 they'd taken for a Maldives escape still burned in my chest. A betrayal sharper than any before. I'd won a battle, but the war left me torn between satisfaction and a deep, aching sorrow. I sipped my tea, its warmth soothing, but not enough to quiet the storm inside. Confronting them had been necessary. 30,000 for their party, 150,000 for their house, years of funding their excess, but it wasn't triumph I felt. It was loss, the kind that settles in your bones. Quinn, my son, had chosen cocktails over his children's future. Cassidy had chosen scorn over respect. Yet, as I'd stood my ground, I'd seen something new in Quinn's eyes, shame, fleeting but real. Could it mean change? I doubted it. But the hope lingered, fragile as a thread. My phone buzzed Perry, checking in. Mom, heard from Quinn. He's rattled. Says you're destroying them. You holding up? I typed back, I'm okay. Lunch tomorrow. Her reply came fast. Definitely. Proud of you. Her words were a balm, grounding me. Perry and her family, Ethan. Brian were my safe harbor. Proof that love didn't have to hurt. Unlike Quinn, who'd left my office yesterday, his guilt overshadowed by defiance. Perry saw me, not just my wallet. I stood, pacing to the window, the lake's calm mocking my turmoil. The confrontation replayed Cassidy's hiss, you're so smug. Quinn's plea to fix this. I'd held firm, but their shock had been palpable. Cassidy's face paling, Quinn's hands trembling. They hadn't expected me to push back, not after years of my giving without question. 300,000 sent in over a decade. from their wedding to their country club fees, and they'd repaid me with exclusion. Birthdays missed, school plays forgotten. The weight of those slights pressed down, but so did the relief of finally saying no. The doorbell chimed, sharp and unexpected. I checked the intercom. Olivia, my granddaughter, standing alone, her school bag slung over one shoulder. My heart lifted, then sank. Was this Cassidy's doing? Another ploy. I buzzed her in, meeting her at the door. Her eyes, wide and searching, met mine. Grandma. I ran away. I didn't tell Mom or Dad. I knelt, pulling her into a hug, her small frame trembling. Sweetheart, what happened? They're fighting again, she whispered, her voice muffled against my shoulder. Mom says we're broke because of you. Dad says she spends too much. I just wanted to be here. My chest tightened, anger flaring at Quinn and Cassidy for dragging her into this. You're always welcome here, I said, guiding her inside. Let's have some tea. Okay. We sat in the kitchen, her sipping chamomile, me watching her carefully. Olivia, what did they say about me? She fiddled with her cup, eyes down. Mom says you're mean, that you took away our school. Dad says you're mad at him, but I don't think you're mean. Grandma, you always make me feel safe. Her words cracked something in me, a mix of love and pain. I'm not mad at you or Aiden, I said softly. I stopped helping your parents because they weren't fair to me, but I'll always take care of you. She nodded, her small hand reaching for mine. I don't like the new school, but it's not so bad. There's a robotics club, I smiled, squeezing her hand. You'll shine there. Sweetheart, you're smart like your Aunt Perry. After tucking Olivia into the guest room, I called Quinn, my voice steady, despite the fury simmering. Olivia's here. She ran away because of your fighting. He sounded frantic. What? Why didn't she tell us? She's scared, I said, my tone sharp. You and Cassidy are tearing her apart with your arguments. Fix it. Quinn, she deserves better. I'm coming to get her, he said, his voice shaking. Not tonight. I replied, firm. She's staying here. You and Cassidy need to sort yourselves out first. He hesitated, then sighed. Fine. Tomorrow morning. I hung up, my hands trembling, not from fear, but from the effort of protecting Olivia while holding my ground. I returned to my study, the sketches waiting, the transformable jacket vest, bag, tent felt like a mirror of my resolve, shifting to meet the moment. I added a detail, a hidden pocket for essentials, a nod to carrying what matters most. Olivia's trust fund was safe now, and I'd ensure Aiden's was too. But Quinn and Cassidy, they'd feel the full weight of their choices. I thought of their shock yesterday. Cassidy's defiance crumbling, Quinn's guilt surfacing. They were reeling, their perfect life unraveling. No more private school, no country club, no second car. Part of me savored it, a petty spark I didn't deny. But mostly, I felt sorrow for the son I'd raised, for the family I'd hoped for. I'd won this round, but at a cost. Olivia's small voice, her fear, reminded me why I fought, not for revenge, but for a future where respect wasn't bought. I stepped onto the terrace, the night air cool against my skin. Creationsburg's lights pulsed, a city that never stopped. I was rewriting my story, protecting my grandchildren, building my new line. The confrontation had shifted, something Quinn's guilt might fade. But my strength wouldn't. I'd face them, and I'd face whatever came next. And let me tell you, that strength felt like slipping into a dress that fit perfectly. Every seam in place, ready for the world. The Creationsburg morning draped my mansion in a soft, golden haze, the lake outside my study window glinting like a promise. I sat with my coffee, its steam curling in the cool air. But my mind was a tangle of yesterday's confrontation with Quinn and Cassidy. Their shock, Cassidy's venom, Quinn's fleeting guilt, it all lingered. Heavy as the silence in my too large house, I'd laid bare their betrayal, locked the twins' trust fund after Quinn's $180,000 theft, and severed their financial lifelines, £30 for their party, $10,000 for school, $5,000 for their mortgage. Victory tasted bitter, laced with exhaustion and a quiet sorrow for the son I'd lost to his own choices. But I'd reclaimed my power, and that felt like sunlight breaking through clouds. I sipped my coffee, the bitterness grounding me, and glanced at my sketches for the transformable clothing line. The jacket vest, bag, tent was more than a design now. It was a symbol of my reinvention, shifting to meet life's demands. Olivia's visit last night, her small voice confessing her parents' fights, had sharpened my resolve. She'd slept in the guest room, her school bag by the bed, and I'd promised to pick her up after school again soon. Protecting her and Aiden meant standing firm, no matter how much it hurt. My phone buzzed Quinn. Again. I ignored it, picturing him scrambling to salvage his crumbling world. No private school, no country club, no second car. Social media told the story posts of their Maldives trip had vanished, replaced by Cassidy's vague update about tough times. I felt no triumph, only a weary sense of justice. They'd learned to live within their means, or they wouldn't. My job wasn't to save them anymore. The doorbell chimed, pulling me from my thoughts. I checked the intercom. Perry, her face warm but concerned. I buzzed her in, grateful for her steady presence. She entered, hugging me tightly, her coat carrying the crisp scent of autumn. Mom, you look exhausted. Quinn called me again. They're selling the sports car, moving the twins to a public school. It's chaos. I poured her tea, the porcelain clinking softly. Good. They need to face reality. I'm done cushioning their mistakes. Perry nodded, sitting across from me, her eyes searching. I get it. But after the trust fund, that was low, even for Quinn. Are you okay? I sighed, my hands wrapping around my cup. I'm tired. Standing up to them felt right. But it's heavy. Perry, Quinn's my son. I wanted him to be different. She reached for my hand, her grip firm. You did everything for him. He chose this. You're not the villain here. Her words eased the ache. If only slightly. I know, I said, my voice low. But it's not just about Quinn. Olivia's caught in their mess. She ran to me last night, scared. I can't let them use her to get to me. Perry's eyes softened. You're protecting her. And Aiden. That's what matters. But what's next? Quinn's not giving up. I stood, pacing to the window. The lake's calm, a stark contrast to my turmoil. I'm buying out his share in the ateliers. $200,000. Fair price. He's out of my business. The twins' trust funds are locked new ones, with me as trustee, and I'm moving forward with my new line. It's time I lived for me. Perry smiled, a spark of pride in her eyes. That's my mom, the Elaine Hampton who built an empire. What's the line about? I gestured to the sketches. Transformable clothing jackets, dresses, shifting forms. For women like me, bold and adaptable, inspired by Brian's tent, actually maximum function, minimum fuss. She laughed. Picking up a sketch. This is brilliant. You're going to shake up the market. But are you ready for Quinn's pushback? He might try legal action. Let him, I said, my voice steady. Though my heart raced. My lawyers are ready. He'll get his buyout. But nothing more. I'm done being his ATM. We spent the next hour talking, her presence a lifeline. She shared stories of Ethan swimming, Brian's latest architectural project, their plans for a weekend at Crystal Lake. Come with us, she said. Ethan would love it. So would I. I'm in, I said, warmth spreading through me. Perry's family was my refuge, a reminder that love could be mutual, not transactional. As she left, I felt lighter, but the weight of Quinn's betrayal lingered. I opened my laptop, reviewing the buyout draft. Quinn's 10% stake in Hampton Designs was nominal, a gesture from years ago when I'd hoped he'd join me. He never did. Now, I'd reclaim it, just as I'd reclaim my dignity. My phone pinged a text from Olivia Grandma. Thanks for last night. Can I come again soon? I smiled, typing anytime. Sweetheart. I'd keep her close, shield her from her parents' chaos. But Quinn and Cassidy, they were reaping what they'd sown. I imagined them now, scrambling to pay bills, their perfect facade cracking. A small, petty part of me savored it. But mostly, I felt a quiet resolve. I'd won this fight. But at a cost, my son's distance, my grandchildren's confusion. I turned to my sketches, adding a new detail to the jacket, a reinforced seam, strong yet flexible. Like me, work was my anchor. Always had been. After Walter's betrayal, I designed through the pain, turning heartbreak into art. Now, I'd do it again, building a line that celebrated women who refused to fade. I thought of the 300 something I'd given Quinn over the years, the $180,000 he'd taken from his children. It hurt, but it also clarified my path. I wasn't just cutting ties, I was building a new life. I stepped onto the terrace, the lake breeze cool against my skin. Creationsburg's lights pulsed below, a city that didn't pause for my pain. I'd faced Quinn and Cassidy, protected the twins, and set my course. The victory was mine, but it came with scars, emotional, raw, but proof I'd fought for myself. And let me tell you, those scars felt like badges, earned in a battle for my own worth. The Creationsburg dawn painted my study in soft pinks, the lake outside my window a mirror for the city's waking pulse. I sat with my tea, its chamomile warmth a quiet comfort after weeks of upheaval. The confrontation with Quinn and Cassidy lingered like a bruise, their shock, their accusations, the $180,000 they'd taken from the twins' trust fund. I'd locked the funds, started the buyout of Quinn's share in Hampton Designs, and cut their financial lifelines. $30,000 for their party, $10,000 for school, $5,000 for their mortgage. The fight had left me drained. But standing here now, I felt a new peace settling in, fragile but real. I was no longer their bank. I was Elaine Hampton, rebuilding my life on my terms. I sipped my tea, the steam curling against the morning chill, and glanced at my sketches for the transformable clothing line. The jacket, vest, bag, tent was taking shape. A testament to my reinvention. Each design was a piece of me, bold and adaptable. For women who refused to fade at 67 or beyond, work had always been my refuge. But now it was more a declaration of who I was becoming. The ache of Quinn's betrayal still throbbed, but it no longer defined me. I'd found something stronger myself. My phone buzzed a text from Perry Mom. Lake trip this weekend. Ethan's begging for grandma time. I smiled, typing back count me in. Perry's family was my anchor, their warmth a contrast to Quinn's cold distance. Olivia's visit last week, her small voice confessing her parents' fights, had solidified my resolve to protect her and Aiden. I'd invited her over again yesterday, and we'd baked cookies, her laughter filling the house. Those moments were my new currency, worth more than any check I'd ever written. I stood, pacing to the window, the lake's calm soothing my restless heart. Quinn and Cassidy were reeling. I knew. Perry had updated me they'd sold their second car, moved the twins to a public school, and canceled their country club membership. Their social media, once a parade of luxury, was now silent. I felt no glee, only a quiet justice. They'd taken $300,000 from me over the years, $180,000 from their children's future, and given me exclusion in return. Now, they faced the consequences of life without my safety net. The doorbell chimed, unexpected but familiar. I checked the intercom. Brian, Perry's husband, his architect's frame relaxed but purposeful. I buzzed him in. Curious, he entered, a bottle of wine in hand, his smile warm. Elaine, thought I'd drop by before the lake trip. Perry said you're working on something big. I gestured to the sketches, pouring us tea, transformable clothing jackets, dresses, shifting forms, inspired by your camping tent. Actually, maximum function, minimum fuss. He laughed, studying the designs. This is genius. A whole lifestyle brand for women like you, vibrant, unstoppable. You should patent this. Elaine, I smiled, his enthusiasm infectious. I'm working on it. Meeting with my lawyer tomorrow to protect the designs and finalize Quinn's buyout. Brian nodded, his eyes serious. Perry told me about the trust fund. Quinn's mess, it's tough. But you're doing right by the twins. They'll thank you one day. I hope so, I said, my voice soft, the ache surfacing. Olivia's been coming over, scared by their fights. I want her to know she's safe with me. She knows, Brian said, his voice firm. You're giving her stability. Quinn and Cassidy, they're learning the hard way. We talked over tea, his ideas for my clothing line sparking new ones, accessories. Maybe a travel capsule. His support, like Perry's, felt like a lifeline, proof that family could be mutual, not manipulative. As he left, I felt lighter, the weight of Quinn's betrayal easing. I returned to my sketches, adding a transformable scarf shawl, belt, wrap its versatility a mirror of my own shift. I'd spent years adapting to others' needs. Now, I adapted for myself. Later, I called Olivia, her voice brightening my mood. Grandma, can I show you my robotics project? It's for the school fair. I'd love that, I said, picturing her eager smile. Bring it over this weekend. I hung up, my heart full but heavy. Quinn had texted earlier, a half-hearted apology, Mom. We're trying. Can we talk? I didn't reply. His words felt like another plea for leniency, not change. Cassidy hadn't reached out since our confrontation, her silence louder than her threats. They were struggling, but so had I every time I'd been excluded. Every check I'd written to buy their love. I opened my planner, reviewing my tasks, patent designs, finalize buyout, plan Europe trip. The last one made me pause. I'd postponed travel for years, always putting Quinn's needs first. Now, I imagined strolling Paris's streets, camera in hand, capturing moments for myself. A photography course. 2, something I'd always wanted. The thought sparked joy. A flicker of a life lived for me. I stepped onto the terrace. The lake breeze cool against my skin. Creationsburg's lights twinkled, a city moving forward. Like me, I'd protected the twins, confronted my betrayers, and started building something new. The peace I felt wasn't perfect Quinn's distance. Olivia's fear still tugged at me, but it was mine. I'd won my dignity, my purpose, at the cost of a fractured family, but I was learning to live with that, to choose myself without guilt. And let me tell you, that choice felt like slipping into a new dress, one that hugged every curve of who I was becoming. The Creationsburg twilight settled over my mansion, the lake outside my study window a deep indigo, reflecting the city's restless glow. I sat with a glass of red wine, its ruby warmth catching the lamplight. My sketches for the transformable clothing line spread before me. The past weeks had been a storm, Quinn's betrayal, with the 180 Zen trust fund theft, Cassidy's venom, the severed payments for their school, mortgage, and club. I'd confronted them, locked the twins' future, and started buying out Quinn's share in Hampton Designs. Each step was a cut, sharp and necessary, carving out a new Elaine Hampton. Now, as I sipped my wine, I felt a quiet pride, tempered by the scars of a family fractured. I'd won my dignity, but at a cost, and the weight of that truth lingered like the city's hum. I leaned back in my leather chair, the silence of the house both vast and intimate. The transformable jacket vest, bag, tent was nearly ready for prototyping, a symbol of my reinvention. It wasn't just clothing, it was a manifesto for women like me, 67 and unyielding, who refused to fade. Work had always been my refuge, but now it was my rebellion, a way to channel the pain of Quinn's choices into something bold. Olivia's visits, her robotics project, Perry's lake trips with Ethan and Brian, they were my new anchors, proof that love could be mutual, not bought. My phone pinged a text from Olivia Grandma, my project won at the fair. Can I show you tomorrow? I smiled, typing back so proud. Sweetheart, come over after school. Her brightness was a light in the fog of Quinn's mess. Perry had shared the latest Quinn and Cassidy were downsizing, selling their lake house, cutting back on luxuries. No more Maldives posts, no more designer flaunts. They were learning to live within their means. But Quinn's calls apologetic, then angry, then silent told me change was slow. Cassidy's last message, a week ago, was a curt, "We'll manage without you." I hoped they would. But I no longer carried their burdens. I stood, pacing to the window, the lake's calm, a mirror for my thoughts. I'd given Quinn 300,000 over the years, house, school, holidays, thinking it kept us close. The 180,000 he took from the twins' trust fund shattered that illusion. Confronting them had been like cutting a threadbare rope. It hurt, but it freed me. I'd protected Olivia and Aiden, locking their funds with me as trustee, ensuring their education at 21. I'd offered Quinn 200,000 to buy his atelier share, a fair deal for a stake he'd never earned. He'd signed yesterday, his signature shaky, his eyes avoiding mine. It was done. "Elaine," I whispered, my breath fogging the glass. "You're enough." The words felt like a vow. I'd spent decades being the perfect mother, generous to a fault, thinking it would bind my family. Quinn's betrayal taught me otherwise. Love wasn't a check, it was respect, presence, a shared table. Perry gave me that. Her family a warm contrast to Quinn's cold distance. Brian's ideas for my clothing line accessories. A lifestyle brand sparked new dreams. Ethan's grin, Olivia's trust filled the gaps Quinn left. I returned to my desk, opening my planner, patent designs, book Paris trip, enroll in photography course. The Europe plan, long delayed, was now a promise to myself. I pictured Paris's cobblestone streets, my camera capturing light and shadow, a new lens for a new life. The photography course started next month, a chance to see the world differently. My clothing line, too, was taking shape, prototypes with hidden clasps, fabrics that shifted like my own resolve. I'd launch it next spring, a collection for women who, like me, redefined their later years. My phone buzzed Quinn, a voicemail. I hesitated, then played it. "Mom, we're trying. Cassidy's back at work. I'm sorry for everything. Can we talk?" His voice was tired, not manipulative, but I wasn't ready. I'd heard apologies before, always tied to a request. I texted back, "I'm glad you're trying. Let's talk later." I needed space, time to let my boundaries settle. Olivia's visits, Perry's support, my work, they were my focus now. I stepped onto the terrace. The night air crisp, Creationsburg's lights pulsing below. The city didn't care about my scars, but it offered possibility. I'd faced betrayal, stood my ground, and built something new. The cost was real, Quinn's distance, the twins' confusion, but so was the gain. I'd learned to value myself, to choose relationships that valued me back. Perry's lake trip this weekend, with Ethan's fishing rod and Brian's wine, was a start. Olivia's robotics project, her trust in me, was another. My clothing line, my Paris plans, my photography, they were mine. Pieces of a life reclaimed. I raised my wine glass to the city, a silent toast. To you, Elaine, I murmured, my voice soft but sure. I wasn't the mother who gave endlessly anymore. I was a woman who knew her worth, who designed her future with the same precision as her dresses. The scars of betrayal would fade, but my strength wouldn't. I'd paid a price, but I'd won something greater myself. And let me tell you, that victory felt like slipping into a gown made just for me. Every stitch a story of resilience, every seam a testament to a life beautifully reclaimed.